Philip, thanks for joining us.
Hey Albert, happy to be here.
Yeah, and you've been a staunch supporter of the Startup Lab and all the uh, 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 the aspiring entrepreneurs, right? Remember from last year, and many of those entrepreneurs that you helped got funding eventually, and they went on and they're building their own DeFi projects now, right? They're in the accelerator. So, thank you so much for your contribution to the Bitcoin ecosystem in general. You're definitely a pioneer here, so we're super thrilled to have you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. First off, I just saw that photo and I really have to get a new profile photo. But that aside, yeah. So I run a protocol with an awesome team called Arcadico. As you said in introduction, it's self-repaying loans, but more specifically, I guess. I'll go a bit more technically where I'm going to say, look, it's a stable coin. Most people are probably familiar with a stable coin, and it's a decentralized stable coin in the sense that it is backed by crypto assets. And those crypto assets, they today all live on the Stacks blockchain. And so the most popular asset that our users mint, our stablecoin, which is called USDA, by the way, our users mint USDA with, is STX, so the Stacks asset. And if you stack that Stacks asset, as you know, and probably our listeners also know, in proof of transfer, then you get a yield in Bitcoin. And we use that yield to pay back the loan that you created for yourself in the form of that stablecoin USDA. So in some sense, you're taking a claim on your future yield, and we're giving you that future yield and allow you still to, stack those stacks, either earning that yield or using it to repay the loan. Obviously, there's also some Bitcoin collateral because, like you said, we are built on Bitcoin. Today, that collateral is XBTC. It's wrapped Bitcoin. In the future, that will be coming with the Nakamoto release, the hard fork of Stacks Stacks later this year. I think it's called 3.0. Don't quote me on it, but we will switch and add SBTC as I always call it, the most pristine form of collateral. And so that's the project. About myself a bit. Well, I've got a mostly computer science background, so I'm like a technical guy. I've been building products pretty much my whole life, I would say, my whole professional life, at least the last 15, 20 years. I love being, in the mix between doing a bit of business development, building products, thinking what the market wants. And yeah, generally super excited to be here, see what comes next on both Bitcoin and Stacks, and happy to help and looking forward to this session today.
Super. Thanks so much for that background, Philip. I'm sure the audience is just as excited as I am to hear about your wish list ideas. But before we get into that, let's set the stage. You've been in Bitcoin for a while, right? So what's your vision with Arcadico and like how do you see the sustainable Bitcoin economy playing out? Like what is the end game here? Like, can you sort of fast forward and sort of paint a picture for us?
Yeah, for sure. So for context, I joined the community, let's say, or late 2013, early 2014. I bought my first BTC. That's been a while, nearly 10 years. Yeah. And I was pretty clueless back then. I just bought it for fun because I was interested in the tech. But as you learn more about it, you really see the opportunity there. As I already mentioned, it's a great form of collateral. It's a collateral that is censorship resistant, that no one can get a claim on if you protect your own assets, right? And I think that sovereignty that should be in the hands of everyone and each citizen of the world, and that's what makes it interesting for me.
Hold on, can you define that for what's the importance of that collateral being non-custodial? Like what could happen if it's custodial? What has happened?
Yeah, so I love to talk about this thing called counterparty risk, or people in the middle, the man in the middle. Usually that's a bank these days. They have often very subjective means of qualifying you and giving you a credit score and whether or not you can lend and borrow through their facilities. And I believe Bitcoin, being the most decentralized asset that we all know, could facilitate a better way of lending and borrowing. And it could facilitate you know, a way that where computers as objectively as possible say, look, you can borrow this amount of money against that amount of BTC. And that's ultimately where we're trying to get with Arcadico. But I think as a whole, for me, that's one of the most promising applications to the world. If I need some credit today, I don't need to go through a bunch of counterparty risks, through a bunch of people, you know, talking to them for days, 2 weeks on end. No, I can just show someone a computer or a smart contract, in this case, my wallet, and then that wallet is qualified based on a certain amount to you know, to qualify for some credits, and that flexibility is yeah, promising.
So that's huge. So one is you bypass the credit score completely, right? That's one.
Sure. Yeah.
The second thing is normally this process takes a long time, right? It takes a long, and that time converts into cost structure for whoever will lender it, which is transferred to you, right? So you end up paying more. So one, you bypass the credit score. 2, you save time, you get it much faster. 3, you're actually paying less now. So that's a huge innovation. Okay, so thanks for sharing that. Now that was a little detour. I think it was worth it, so people get the context of what you're doing. Now let's go back. What's your vision? How do you see this? Like, you know, paint a picture of what the sustainable Bitcoin economy looks like to you.
Well, I think I already touched a little bit on it, but for me, it's really universal access to a financial system where there's no, you know, there's no rules based on the color of your skin or where you come from. And then for me, that future is simply, as I call it, sovereignty, where each person on their own, you know, whether you want to build a family or you want to be on your own, doesn't matter where you come from, where you can handle in a way, you know, that where you have the freedom, let's say, to transact and to handle. For me, that's the most promising part of Bitcoin, I would say, and that's the world I believe we should be moving towards.
Okay, so I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree. That's why we're having the Bitcoin Olympics, right? To bring builders together to help build that world together. So I mean, it sounds like in order for that to happen, we need more users, and we also need more products to have more users to eventually touch on all the different aspects to create that sovereignty you're talking about. Now, all right, so that's in the future. What should we be building today in order to build that future together? And let me put this in context. The next Bitcoin halving is happening in about 1 year, almost exactly 1 year. So, you know, if you had more time, what do you wish you could build? Right? What do you wish you could build? Because you already have your hands full with Arcadico. It's a great project. I know you're also involved with other projects, but what do you wish, like, if you had more time, what do you wish you could build right now to prepare for the next Bitcoin halving?
Yep. I think that's a great question, by the way, because a year is both a long time, but it's also very short, right? And then I love the use cases of lending and borrowing. I'm always repeating myself. I tell everyone, for me, the killer use case of crypto today, in my opinion, is that, again, that freedom to transact. And so I would first and foremost look at stacks, because I think that's the most flexible layer. You know, I don't know if you or Trevor talked a bit about Bitcoin layers already, but if you agree with me that Bitcoin is built on layers, then for me, the most interesting, most flexible, most powerful layer today out there for Bitcoin is stacks, which has a flexible programming language. And so I would build a money market on chain. And simply said, a money market on chain allows users to lend and borrow on it. It's simply a market where you go to and say, I have these assets, I'm going to put them there, and you can get a small reward on them, meaning you earn a yield. And then against those assets, you can borrow something else. And that something else is usually a stable coin. It could be something like USDA that we have with Arcadico, but it could also be a more centralized stable coin, which is super useful to borrow if you have real life expenses such as USDC, USDT. And I think if you look at the current landscape of stacks, each month over month, look at the report. Stacks is gaining popularity. I was just reading a report earlier today where I don't remember the exact growth numbers, but it was something like 60% quarter over quarter, even, I believe, which is great, right, for a chain like Stacks. And little by little, we're getting into that really tier one territory, as I call it. And that allows you to, as a builder, to have this little nice blue ocean where it's a promising piece of technology. It's not a super crowded market yet. So there's an asymmetric opportunity here to build on it. And again, I think the money markets, and if I have to give a comparison with another chain, think of the Aves, the compounds of the world. They do the most volume and they have the most interest day to day from DeFi users on any other chain. But something like that is still not existing on Stacks today. So I would bet my money and my time and my work, if I wasn't working on Arcadico, I would focus my energy there.
Money market.
Yeah, exactly. A money market where people have free access to assets to lend and borrow.
Okay, all right. So I mean, let's try to. I want to put that in layman terms. So basically, the money market, we can imagine this as a big pool of money that's contributed in peer-to-peer fashion, non-custodially, right? And then the advantage of having a big pool of money is then you can do other stuff with it, right? And
correct.
So that's the foundation. What are some of the things? So that's one. That's actually a huge one. That's gonna. I believe that money markets will have to exist on, in the different tribes of Bitcoin, not just Stacks, but also Rootstock, et cetera, right?
Sure. Yep.
And
yeah,
that's a huge idea. I mean, and why do you think this should be built before the next Bitcoin halving? Right? I mean, this sounds like a unicorn level idea if it can be done.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the most promising use case of all of it is access to liquidity. Most of the people listening to this today will probably own some kind of crypto, and most likely they will own BTC. Imagine you own Bitcoin, but you need some dollars, let's say tomorrow, to pay for real life expenses. What do? Okay, maybe you can go to your bank and you have enough money, but let's consider that your bank account is depleted. You only have your BTC left. What do, right? You either have to sell your BTC or you need to take a loan against that BTC. If it's like a short-term thing and you say, I want to pay for the expenses and, access some liquidity that is behind that BTC. So you don't want to sell it, but you want the liquidity. And so a money market allows you, sorry, go ahead.
No, absolutely. I'd rather take a loan out on my BTC as collateral. At the end of the month, when my paycheck comes, I could just pay off the loan, but I still have my BTC. Yeah.
Historically, Bitcoin, it doubles every, I don't know what it is, every 2 to 3 years, right? And I know, like, it's not investment advice and future, past performance does not indicate future performance and all those things, but we're all bullish, right, on the asset, and we'd rather, especially for expense, so we'd rather borrow against it for a little bit than to sell it and lose our precious BTC. So I think that's a huge use case where people are incentivized to put stable coins in the money market, and you can then take out those stable coins by putting a BTC in.
Right. Okay. No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And can you give us? I mean, that's already a huge idea. Now, what's in addition to lending, what other DeFi projects can be built with this foundation? Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, sure. There's the obvious ones, there's the perps, the options, the derivative trading, all those things. That's not really my area of expertise. I truly like what I call the groundworks, the infrastructure, the building blocks, the most basic ones, such as stable coins, the lending borrowers, those kind of things. And I think one additional one that could be interesting is a liquid staking derivative, or an LSD, as we call it. If you follow the market at all, you've probably seen LSD on Twitter or anywhere, that you look. So think of the Lidas of the world that are, very popular on, again, the Ethereums and the Solanas and the Avalanches and all those things of the world. They have built a great solution where you can stake your coins, but also get access to liquidity. And so if we look at STX, you can stack that, but as soon as you stack it in proof of transfer, it's in there, right? It's locked, it's in there. You don't get any derivative token back. And I believe a token that auto compounds the yield from proof of transfer, but that puts it all into one fungible token that can then again be used as some kind of collateral. It could be in a money market, it could be somewhere else. Has really a lot of potential, which is beneficial, by the way, for STX, the asset as well, because that could help, in securing the network, locking up the STX token, but still having users, use the actual assets on chain. So I believe that's another big, building block that is currently missing, but that I would love to see before the halving.
Yeah, no, these are all awesome, like potentially unicorn startup level ideas. I mean, this is actually one of the most exciting things about being in Bitcoin stacks, etc. right now, because it is almost ground zero, because most of the attention was on Ethereum or other chains previously, and really just started diverting their attention back within the last 2 months, right? Thanks to ordinals.
For sure.
It's now sexy to build on again, right? And so it's almost like the perfect time to prepare for these things, right? And the really awesome thing is, when we discovered gold, like say in San Francisco, is the people that got rich first were the ones that were selling the picks and the shovels, all the supplies, the gold miners, right? So it's like when you're talking about like these infrastructure or like the money market, etc., we're building like that supply, that the supply that people need to build on top of that, right? And then on top of that, there's going to be more unicorn companies that come out of that. So this is like almost like you control the faucet, right? So you're almost taking like a cut from all the water or all the liquidity that's coming through. And so is, this opportunity is not going to be around 1 year from now, right? It's not going to be around 1 year from now because of your talk, Philip. I know you're going to inspire a lot of smart people and talented people to build that. So let's can you say some encouraging words to our audience, to the contestants and the contestants that are potentially going to sign up? Because you can sign up if you're in the audience. You can sign up until April 11th, so we still have 5 days. Get on it. It's bitcoinolympics.devpost.com. It's up here. Our team is also going to share it in the chat, and sign up. But say some encouraging words, and how can they get started, Philip? How can they get started?
Yeah, first of all, real quick, I fully agree with you, and I think the window of opportunity is now. Stacks is gaining popularity month over month. I'm talking to more and more builders like weekly or reaching out to me. I love those conversations, super bullish on the people that joining the chain, love everything that's being built. So having said that, don't hesitate to participate, because there's a big window of opportunity, but you need to take that opportunity. And second, I would say, I'm really inspired by all the people that you invited today. People like Trevor, Tycho, Manip, Hank, some of the speakers that are here today. I've had the luck, let's say I've been lucky enough to be able to collaborate and work with them, and just, taking some of their knowledge today and listening to them will definitely have, a few steps ahead if you take their wisdom and their feedback into consideration. Because when I get started, that was 2 years ago on Stacks, there was like very little. And so I wish I had all this information, there for me, but unfortunately I didn't. But so to any participants, I would say go for that. And I don't know if you mentioned this already, but I'll be doing a little bit of a Clarity smart contract coding crash course next week as well. I'll probably be building some kind of money market there, or a little piece of it, just like trying it out. So yeah.
Wow, you're gonna get people. That's a huge gift. That is a huge gift. I'm so looking forward to that. All right, sorry for interrupting you. Keep going.
No. I was gonna say, it's like sitting in my head. It's not on paper yet, so it's going to be a fun way of looking at me, how I think.
First time ever. Like you're gonna actually think it for your mind and then put it into real life. Oh,
yeah, I have about 5-6 days left to to make sure it's all correct in my head. But
yeah, I can tell you're excited about it. I hope the audience is excited. I am going to be at that. I'll be sitting in the front row seat. That is going to be awesome to see from the mind of Philip, the CEO and co-founder of Arcadico, and turning something into real life. Like this is this is what dreams are made of, right? This is some people only dare to dream, others do, and those are the founders and those are the builders. So big shout out to Philip, CEO of Arcadico. Thanks for coming on today. We are looking forward to that. And by the way, everyone, Philip is very modest. There's going to be prizes. He's put up like a small cash prize, but more importantly, I think the main win here is that he has generously offered his time, right, to 2 lucky winners. Right, if you complete the code and do something awesome, you potentially can have one-on-one coaching mentoring session with Philip to push your project even further. Right, that's the real prize I think here today. In addition to knowledge that Philip has just shared generously with us. So, any final words, Philip? Is that let me make sure. Like, is that a Monday or is that a Tuesday? Is that April 10th or 11th?
I believe it's 11th on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yes, awesome. Is you gonna
Well, last words. I think if you're participating in the Olympics, focus on your potential impact. Focus on how can I capture market share and how big is my idea? How well does it scale? Also think about the UX, but definitely the impact I think is important if you you think you have a candidate winner in the Olympics.
Thank you so much, Philip. Looking forward to next week, April 11th. We're gonna put your vision into practice. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and then I think you've already inspired a lot of builders, and we're gonna circulate this video, so we're gonna get more people to try to build this idea. And if you're listening in crowd, form teams. As Philip said, it's not just about the code, it's also about the users. You gotta merge the two together. In order to have a winning chance to create real impact and to change the world together and create the sustainable Bitcoin economy together. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Philip, for coming. See you next week.
Thanks, Albert. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Thank you.